It may be just a preseason scrimmage, but there's always stuff to learn. We'll tell you the biggest takeaways from the Duke and Arizona scrimmages next.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. My name is Tyler Metcalf. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow draft analyst for the last decade, Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Metcalf, I'm doing good. Officially less than 30 days until college basketball is back, which means draft season is right around the corner. Exciting time around here. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. And, 30 days out, less than 30 days out, which means the 30 and 30. Little quick breakdowns we've been doing over at the No Ceilings YouTube is up. One prospect every day, about 5 to 10 minutes per prospect. Go check it out. But we actually kind of have some technically maybe pseudo fake college basketball to actually talk about and look at and watch as scrimmages are starting. So yes, I know they're just inter squad scrimmages, preseason, yada, yada, yada. But I think there's still good opportunities for us to kind of see how some of these freshmen might be used and some of their responsibilities and how some of the returning players have grown and improved and new stuff in their game. So yes, they're not the end all be all. They're not going to drastically change my rankings, but I think there's still a lot to learn. And I think these games could show us some potential sneaky draft risers that we'll get into. Arizona, there's a lot to take away from there. We'll get into it in the second segment, but we got to start out with the Duke Blue Devils. Their blue-white game, had a lot of fun with it. What were just your initial takeaways, initial impressions on that?
Yeah, going into it, with Duke this year, everyone's going to be keeping an eye on the eyes possession, which is Cameron Boozer, who's, in the running to be the number one pick in the upcoming draft class. Son of Carlos Boozer, very, very talented Metcalf. And I think it was going into just watching this, and I'm the same way as you. Hey, it's exhibition basketball, but it also is fun to just kind of, see what's going on and feel good about college basketball being back. So Boozer's as advertised, in my opinion. I mean, he is just an absolute emotionless, like I think you put it at before we hit recording, like he's Tim Duncan out there where it just seems nothing bothers him. I'm not saying he's Tim Duncan 1-for-1. Calm down, everybody, with the pro comps, but I'm saying he's just stays level-headed the whole time, and he's tough, he's calm, he's composed. He's just a robot out there, and I mean that in a positive way.
He's so boring, but it's so dominant and it's effective, and he just takes what the defense gives him and then just executes everything on the defensive end. He's going to have one of the most boring highlight tapes, I think, for one of the most well-rounded, dominant, polished prospects that maybe we've ever seen. And in this game, there's a nice little pick and pop, splashed it, effortless. There's a little drive and kick where, Duke's really aggressive, playing really aggressive gap coverage. So, all right, cool. Both wing defenders collapse on him. He just kicks it out to the corner shooter for a wide open three. Easy peasy. Defense just making the right rotations. Like there aren't these highlight defensive plays, but that's because he's just sliding his feet, cutting off drives, making the rotations before shots can even get up. And it's like, this is already looks already too easy for him. And if you look at his box score online, it's like, oh, it was like 6 points, 4 rebounds, blah. Who cares? Like, why are you guys waxing poetic about him? But it's when you watch the tape, just everything he does, he's going to be one of my favorite guys to watch in between the highlights, because it's a coach's dream the way he plays and executes on both ends of the floor out there.
I completely agree with what you just said. His highlight tape on YouTube is going to be really boring. But his highlight tape in a front office or a draft room or for a coaching staff is going to make them like foam at the mouth. I think a coaching staff watches, like what you said, his rotations, his ability to just be in the right place and make smart reads and stuff that doesn't show up in the box score. Is just something I always feel so good about Boozer evaluating him. I'm just like, this guy just, one, he can be a productive machine when it comes to like, oh my gosh, look at his stats. But two, he also just knows how to do the little things at a high level. So it's what you said. Hey, it's exhibition. A lot of these are, they would play a first half and they're done, or it's sped up minutes, or it's very pickup style, as you can imagine when you're watching the intensity and everything. But Boozer was just like checking every box of like, oh, he did this, he made an impact here. So, hey, it's an exhibition. I'm not going too crazy, but it's also just exciting to be like, this is what we expect. This is, it's still looking just the same as we were hoping.
Yeah, and in case you're looking for an in-depth film breakdown, I threw up a little film school on No Ceiling's YouTube channel of the scrimmage to go check out. But the other big standout for me was Isaiah Evans. I thought he looked incredible. Now, obviously, that green light that he had last year from behind the arc, it got greener. But I thought the nuance with his off-ball creation, the patience with his shot selection, like he's still very aggressive, still very confident, but I thought there's more discipline with how he would like reuse screens and not just immediately let it fly the second that it touched his hands. Still looking like he's not going to be much of a playmaker. Okay, but the defense looked better. The outside shot is still a huge weapon, and the fact that he's like reusing screens and being a little more patient and finding those open shots, I thought was really, really encouraging.
Wow, we did talk about this. This is like literally one of my exact takeaways. It was like I as much as I loved Cam Boozer, I thought Isaiah Evans was almost the most impressive player and it was because his freshman year, it seemed like when he got open, he got the ball, it was just like, oh my gosh, how can I get this up? Like green light. And it was more just like, hey, shoot. Now it looked like there's poise and patience to read the floor and understand like how to use the screen and timing. And I was like, oh, that makes a shooter even more dangerous, is when you're like, now I can wait to that screen angle to get perfect and really be patient and let it develop. And, there's just a couple times where he's at least showcasing the desire to try to take guys off the bounce. I did feel like I was like, I didn't even see him try to do this that much last year. So I came away watching Evans. I was like, oh, all right, here's that leap we're hoping. This is a good sign. This is trending in the right direction. He just looked way more comfortable and not so erratic, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and the one that really stood out to me was he was running just like an empty corner DHO with Patrick Ngongba, and Evans was going towards the middle of the court, and when he came off the handoff, he was like 4 or 5 feet behind the 3-point line. Cam Boozer goes under the screen, and last year Evans 1000% would have just let that fly right off the rip. Instead, reuses the screen. Boozer gets stuck on it. They're playing drop coverage, and he's able to step into a three that's 4 feet closer on balance in rhythm. Is like, oh, that's a big step in the right direction. Who else stood out to you for Duke?
You just could have mentioned him, but I thought Pat Ngongba was one of the guys that stood out to me. He was one of those names I watched last year. They had Kaman Malawach, who got drafted by the Phoenix Suns, and Pat just kept shining last year, where I was like, there's some real talent here. We talked about it for a couple of years, Metcalf, of like, hey, when you watch this high school stuff, it was a really intriguing playmaking big with some fun tools. And then we were like, oh, everyone's going to Duke. This is going to be hard to shine. This year, I thought it was going to be his year. And I thought this was going to be a year he really could be a great piece along Boozer, just because of the feel, the instincts. And, we just are hoping he stays healthy. But Pat, right out of the gate, you saw Patrick Ngongba, like, man, you see why you could get excited about him as a sophomore big that's legit, 6'10", 6'11", with playmaking, great vision and feel. And I think you got a little bit of a tease of everything when it came to his game. So in this big man class, we've been kind of talking about it in the preseason episodes. We're trying to like, hey, it could have some questions after you get past the top 3. I think Pat could really make some noise with a strong year and a clean bill of health. I think that's the biggest thing, because we know the talent's there.
Yeah, and the defense looked really solid. I'd still like him to get in a little better shape, but he's just not naturally the most explosive athlete, which is going to limit him as a rim protector. But his hands, his timing are so good that it helps him compensate for that lack of raw explosiveness. I'm really intrigued to see how or if that lack of like big time traditional rim protector, if that hurts Duke at all in the long run. But I think the IQ, the discipline, the timing, awareness, all that stuff from Ngongba and Boozer will probably be enough against 99% of their opponents. Darren Harris, another big time standout for me too. Really liked him his freshman year. Didn't get any minutes, or I liked him coming out of high school. Big time shooter, barely played at all last year as a freshman. I think he could be a huge weapon again for this team. I'm really hoping he gets minutes in an actual role, because if he does, the amount of shooting that Duke can constantly roll out there on every single offensive possession is going to be overwhelming.
He looked great. I mean, he had the first 5 points of the game for his team. I think he had a little jumper and then had a catch and shoot, no dip 3 in the corner. And you're like, oh, Darren Harris breakout party this year. This is what I've been hoping for. So, man, if he could be consistent, I don't even know if you need too much from him on the defensive side of the ball if you're Duke this year. But like, you're gonna need another, potential sniper. Because if Isaiah Evans doesn't have it one night, you need someone to lean to space the floor. And I think Harris, and he could shoot it from a parking lot if you need him to. So this could be a really big year for him. I thought he looked great to start out. You're like, that's the type of stuff you want to see in an exhibition game, is just, all right, the confidence is still there. Let's see what can happen this year.
I think the only kind of other 2 notable performances for me, I thought Sebastian Wilkins looked really intriguing. Didn't do much, but like there's some defensive tools, some flashes. Corner 3 looked really good, but I'm just curious to see what type of role he actually gets. And then Dame Sarr was probably the biggest disappointment, but that even feels harsh. And he just looked a little nervous and uncomfortable out there playing in Cameron for the first time in a Duke uniform. I thought he got better as the game went on. They only played to 33, little Elam ending, so it was quick. But it's probably something where the nerves are going to be there early in the season, but as the season goes on, I'm not too worried about it.
Not worried with Dame at all. I think this is a guy that most people should be considering. And, Nick Kaminia, another one from me in this game. You see the highs, you see the lows, and it's not even lows. It's more of just like, you got to be patient. This is guys where it's like, hey, they're going to need to get their feet wet for a couple months, and then you might start to see their best basketball come out of nowhere. And it's like, oh, here it is. Here we go. But I think Dom is just going to take a little bit of time to adjust. I think you're hoping, if you're a Duke fan, if you're a draft fan, I think you're hoping Dame just really can lock in defensively to start, and then the offense starts to, make its way around the corner. But they're going to have so many mouths to feed offensively. I think it's a good problem for Duke to have, is just be like, hey, just focus here, and we'll start building. We'll start adding, and things will come a little bit fast, because international guy that's all of a sudden playing in front of the Duke crazies, we'd all be freaking out. We'd all be like, this is nuts. So he'll be fine.
Jimenez is a really important shout. Can't believe I forgot him.
That's why we're here. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here. We're fine. We work off each other. What did you think of him?
I liked a lot of it. He looked a little sped up, a little uncomfortable on ball, but he kind of looked like that in high school too. He looked like a perfect complementary piece. And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, as the season goes on, I think it's just going to get better and better and more effective. But I think he's going to fit into this rotation seamlessly. I think it's going to be a really, really good, both offensively and defensively, just complement to their guards and bigs. And one of those guys that does all the dirty work. And, my hope for him is that he ends up kind of fulfilling that Shane Battier type of role.
Yeah.
Like, not going to be a star, but incredibly smart, effective on both ends of the floor, and does all the little things that coaches fall in love with. But another team that has a whole lot of really fun complementary pieces is the Arizona Wildcats, who we'll get to right after this quick ad. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. The other big scrimmage over the weekend, or one of a few, but the one we're talking about today, the Arizona Wildcats. Really fun game. They got a new sneaky prospect, number 47, who,
48,
I
48.
for 48, who I think could make some waves. Obviously not. That was Rob Gronkowski. That was a fun little bit. But where do you want to start with Arizona?
This one, this one's gonna send me a little bit all over the place. Metcalf, a lot of positive reactions from that game. I feel like, obviously, yes, Gronkowski was hilarious, but I wanted to get your thought. Like, who was the biggest standout for you? I wanted to get your thoughts. Can we talk about Braden Burries?
Yeah, that was gonna be my answer.
Okay,
he
let's
looked
go for it.
fantastic.
Talk to me. What did you think? You thought he looked fantastic?
Yeah, just the offensive versatility, like true combo guard stuff where smart passer, but just flowing seamlessly between on ball and off ball reps, where it's like once he gave it up, it's like, all right, cool. Now let's relocate. Let's go set a screen. Let's, find open space to go occupy, with the ball, is patient, is disciplined, is pulling up from three, is showing the strength to fight through dig attempts from off ball defenders and finish through contact at the rim. Like he had this one closeout that he attacked and Krivas rotated over. Krivas is like 7'2", 260, somewhere in there. And Krivas tried to go vertical and Barry's just was unaffected and just finished through the contact with a reverse layup. It's like, oh, that's fun. And then he's knocking down threes as well. So I thought he was the big standout for me.
He was eye-opening for me. He looked, in a weird way, he looked like a sophomore. He looked like a sophomore that's ready for the jump, not a freshman playing in his first red-blue game. So that's why I came away really impressed with the composure. The shot I thought looked pretty dang good.
Yeah,
he looked like a stud. I mean, he's a 5-star recruit. So like, what am I expecting? But I just thought this was going to be a guy that maybe take a little longer. And I was like, Tommy Lloyd, you better be ready to play some freshmen this year because you've got 3 studs at least on this team. I don't know. It's just Burries really look composed. Looks like he gives, Arizona's needed a real natural scoring weapon from that backcourt position for years. And he looks like Burries could be hey, I could hit that 3. I could be a catch and shoot guy legit from outside, or I could set the pace and get inside and do some stuff. So I thought watching him and overreacting, yes, it's overreaction season. I thought there was a complete overhaul with my hope and dreams for his draft potential. I was like, maybe we need to have another talk about Braden Burries. This might be more ready now than we're thinking.
Yeah, yes, I do think he's more likely a one and done than I thought after.
And we're going off of one game. Yes. But still a 5-star prospect. Yes.
Right. And he's probably going to be a little more of a streaky shooter than this one scrimmage suggests. So, that's kind of what I'm waiting for is like, all right, when that lull inevitably hits, like it does for 90% of freshmen, what does it look like? And this game gave me more assurances that he's going to find other ways to impact the game by getting to the rim, by making smart passes, by at least being competent on the defensive end. So I'm, still obviously have to see it when the shot's not falling. What do you look like? But I came away more encouraged with that from this game.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is I liked the mechanics. I liked how composed he was. I liked how smooth he was. I'll tell you what, he's going to find out pretty quick because to start the year, Arizona's going to play Florida, and that backcourt's going to be giving him everything he wants when it comes to tests, when it comes to Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee and all those guys. So,
but at the same time, like he has a very clear strength advantage on both those guys where I think he can play a little bit of bully ball and take those guys into the paint a little bit. So I'm curious to see how he counters with that.
It's kind of, I'm even trying to think like, yes, like Tommy Lloyd in Arizona, they had Caleb Love and stuff, but I'm just talking about this type of more composed, like, hey, let me work and grind my way inside. Yeah. Like Burries just really stood out to me he never seemed to be in a hurry. He never seemed to be rushing, which is really rare for like a young point guard. Oh gosh, no hurries for Burries. I like that. We print the shirts. But yeah, that was a good one. I really like Burries. That was one of my biggest takeaways from this. What else did you like?
I appreciated Dwayne Aristode looking awesome after hyping him up all summer, because that would have been a bummer. But please stay healthy. Thank God he was in that boot again.
He looked awesome.
Launch that team picture of him in a boot into the sun, please, and never have it return.
The doctor said it was precaution, according to the sources online and the fans. But
cool. Now burn it. No, I just he looked like the exact type of 3-and-D wing that I dream of. I made some nice passing reads. Jumper looked really good. And just to kind of overinflate my confidence in the shot, I thought the free throw mechanics looked really good too. The defense looked phenomenal, and he stonewalled Krivas on a post-up attempt where, again, Krivas 7'2", 260, tries to back down Aristode, and Aristode didn't give up an inch and forced the kick out. So I thought he looked really, really good.
I thought he looked fantastic. I mean, he had a couple NBA, he just moves and does stuff that it looks like an NBA player. Yeah. Like that corner relocate three. It was often an offensive rebound. I think he came out, hit a corner three. You're like, oh gosh, that looked just so gorgeous. And the way, when it's just like a game starting, any type of game, I know this is exhibition, but like when you're rooting for something and a game starts and that first shot goes up and you're like, if that goes in, we're really going to have a fun day. It's just like nothing but net. I was like, oh man, here we go. But I told you before recording, like I watch all that stuff without being biased because I'm like, okay, let's really evaluate and be serious here. But like Aristode, dude can play. Yeah. He is good. And then he had a couple mid-range set. I just was like drive and kick defense, like exactly what I'm talking about with Burries, what we talked about earlier with Cam Boozer. Like those exhibition games are, I think, just more important to be like, how quickly are you impacting? Does it take a while? Are you invisible in an exhibition, which is really tough to do because I know you're always on the court. So I just felt his impact. I felt Burries a lot. I thought those two really looked good.
On the flip side, I'm a little concerned about Koa Pete.
Talk to me. Help me.
There was some fun stuff.
Yeah.
I thought the defense looked significantly better than it did in high school. Where in high school it was very clear. It's like, all right, he's just out there using his physical tools and nothing else. Once he got into Team USA over the summer with FIBA in a more structured setting, I thought it looked better. So I was like, okay, maybe this is his route to the Aaron Gordon outcome and not the Derek Williams outcome. I thought the defense, again, looked pretty solid today. He had a really nice rotation, like help rotation for a help block. I think the jumper's totally busted. I thought he kind of looked lost on offense, unfortunately. Started to figure out a little bit more later, but it took a while. And that transition alley-oop was awesome. I would prefer if he didn't break his face.
Yeah, don't use the face.
Preseason.
Yeah.
And then he ended up hitting like a post-up fadeaway late, like a couple possessions later after that. But I thought he was kind of invisible on offense.
You made a comment on this early in the preseason. I think it's the best thing you've said so far, and it's perfect because it's gonna stick in my head the whole draft cycle. You said Koa Pete might be Derek Williams, and everyone wants him to be Aaron Gordon.
I want him to be Aaron Gordon.
I want him to be Aaron Gordon too, but he had, and look, first shot of the game, exhibition. How many more times do we have to say it's an exhibition? I know someone's going to call us out and be like, these are exhibition games. I'm just saying. We know. We get it. We watch them. But first shot of the game, and I know sometimes it's like, hey, you're just getting warm, but he had a pull-up elbow jumper. There wasn't anyone 10 feet. Like, he had all the space of the world. It was not pretty. Yeah. It was not good. Look, I think that could be worked with. Hey, you got to, if your staff at the NBA, they think they can work with it, great. Koa just needs to show a lot more. I don't think he's going to be a three-point shooter this year. So, I hope he becomes Derek Williams. Yeah. Derek Williams was the second overall pick in a bad draft. But, Derek Williams still, is a valuable talent. I think Pete just needs to be really nasty defensively and, check a lot of boxes. Because I agree with you. There was times where I was like, man, he forgot Koa's out there.
Yeah.
And he's talented, but it's just, there's always guys too where you're like, man, he might not just hit the ground running right away. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a guy that I think his great games are going to be like, he had, 18 and 9 and 10 of those points were in transition. Like, it's just, I don't know, Metcalf. He's going to be a tough one. I think he's going to be one that requires a lot of patience this year. You got to just take it easy. He might have those 25 and 10 games where you're like, oh, he just beat up on, a board team that's a tune-up game, but I don't know.
Any other quick thoughts? I thought Jane Bradley looked really solid. Maybe not from a pro perspective, maybe one day. But the game just looks a lot slower for him. Anthony Dell'Orso looked significantly stronger, and he had a really nice finish through contact. I thought he looked. I came away more encouraged with him. Krevis was kind of hit or miss for me. What about you?
Krevis is going to be hit or miss. Was a potential guy that we were looking at last year as maybe like he could be sneaking into the first round and really make some noise because of the size, the touch, the skills. Had that injury and was out the whole year. You see it at times. It flashes. You get it. You understand. He had a great catch in transition for a nice dunk. Dell'Orso is going to be a nice piece for them this year. I think the added weight, I think he was like up 10 or 15 pounds. You could tell right away. Like you brought up the drive and finish. I was like, man, I haven't seen a Dell'Orso do that in a year or two. It's just like the blue moon every time it happens. But now you could see he's trying to put on that weight to kind of dish out punishment. Hopefully it helps him defensively, but he's a huge piece. That kid could shoot the crap out of the ball. So I thought Jane Bradley did look much better. I think that's a good one. And then they've got some young guys that I think are more going to be developmental pieces. But City Gay looked like just how I expect. We'll probably see you seriously next year, and hopefully you're with the developmental staff and stuff. Bryce James hit a 3. Everyone's really excited about that. That's all I have about that.
All right. Well, this is a draft show and it's early, so let's overreact to some potential draft risers right after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Let's overreact a little bit. Just from these two scrimmages, who is the one biggest draft riser for you?
I can't believe this is like, I love how people just going to overreact to us, say, off of exhibition games. I'm just talking about how they looked and how I thought this guy was going to look like this next year. That's why I was lower preseason. I thought Braden Burries was the biggest, like, all right, get me back in the lab. That's what, when I watched him, I was like, get me back in the film lab. I need to go watch some stuff again and reevaluate my preseason thoughts on Braden Burries. So that was the biggest takeaway for me, Metcalf, because it's also, 6'4", 200 plus guard. It's really solid to start out with. So I know he's a 5-star recruit. I know it's a big time thing. I just thought with that Jaden Bradley and stuff, I was like, this might be a tougher position for Braden to overcome so quickly, knowing Tommy Lloyd last year with Carter Bryant and how he kind of leans that way. Now I'm like, you might have to play this kid quick. Well, what about you?
Yeah, and again, this isn't like, Braden Burries is now in my top 5.
I got him like, at 3 now.
All right, it's like, okay, now right behind Gronk. It's just more so like what the way to think about this segment is more so what sparked it, like, okay, maybe this is a little more legit than I was thinking. And for me, it's Isaiah Evans. Before this weekend, I had a lottery grade on Isaiah Evans, and 90% of that was projection based. You got a 6'6" sniper from outside with a quick shot release, like endless amounts of confidence. I was always a little more optimistic on the defense based on what we saw at Hoop Summit, where just his attitude, his willingness, his competitiveness. I always loved it. I thought that showed up a little more in the scrimmage than it did last year. I thought the growth in terms of slowing the game down, I think it's really impressive. And if he shoots it like he did last year on the 18.1 threes per 100 possessions, insane volume from last year. But if he just replicates that while playing defense like we saw in that scrimmage, it won't shock me if he's a top 20 guy.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think I didn't even mention it before, but I thought the defense even looked the same way. Just looked more confident and composed and balanced when it came to like, oh, he's aware now. He knows what he's doing defensively. So looks like a perfect 3-and-D that you're like, okay, this is developing into even more than this. So yeah, Evans was right there too for me.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Thursday looking at Arkansas's Pro Day, UNC's scrimmage. But he is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I am Tyler Metcalf at TMetcalf11. Thank you for making Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings your first listen every day. For your second listen, go find Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every